There's a pipeline to prison. There's a school to prison pipeline across the nation. And most of us look at it across the nation and disassociate it from locally. There's a school to prison pipeline in North Dakota. We know that kids who are absent from school, who are suspended or expelled, who drop out or who are pushed out, get the message that you're not welcome. What we know about juveniles who are not in school is they are way more likely to interact with the juvenile justice system. What we know about interaction with the juvenile justice system is once you're in that pipeline, you stay in that pipeline. So it comes back to what is causing kids to be suspended or expelled or drop out or push out. And the research is beginning to show that it's multifaceted, which isn't surprising. Student behavior is part of it, but why do we notice behaviors of certain students? Why is our data disparate? Why more boys than girls? Why more students of color than white kids? Why more kids of poverty and trauma than kids who haven't reported suffering that? Why more kids who are in special education programs than in general education programs? And then you peel down a layer below that and you start talking about implicit bias. So what do we all as adults carry in our hearts and minds about people? And that's a difficult conversation to have because nobody wants really to be biased, but not wanting to be prejudiced or biased isn't the same thing as not being prejudiced or biased. So I think we start taking a look at our own data, and if it shows disparity, then we have to figure out why is that. So I think our job as school leaders is to not work in the system, but work on the system. So me, my employees, we come to work with a good heart. We want to do what's fair and right and just for all kids. And I think data is not personal. And you look at the data and you say to yourself, does the system produce results that are fair and just and right for all kids? Where does it? Where doesn't it? And if it doesn't, what do you do? And so what I'm thinking of we need to do is at the schoolhouse level, look at the data from our school, see if there's disparity in it, and then start figuring out why. And it's a very personal, very local, very contextual conversation about why. Native American students are our primary ethnic group, if you will. I didn't say that right. Native American students are our primary minority group. Probably about 9% of our students at Bismarck Public Schools are Native kids. When I first came here, the graduation rate for students who are Native was about 50%. I want you to think about that. 1 of every 2 kids who are Native wasn't graduating. I find that appalling. I find that startling. And part of the reason I find it startling is, 1, these are children with a name and a face and a soul and a heart and a chance to have a good life. And they're taught by people with a name and a face and a soul and a heart who want the best thing for kids. So we don't have bad actors here. That's not the problem. The problem really goes back to how welcome do our kids who are Native feel? What kind of wraparound support system do they need? If half of them are successful in school, why? If half of them aren't successful, why? So we've been working pretty hard at making all kids successful. And recently our graduation rate for Native kids has jumped to 70%. That's a good jump, but it isn't a jump high enough. So our work continues. Improving a school system, any kind of system in society, involves upfront, bald, painful conversations, because if people knew better, they would do better. If I knew better on how to run an error-free system, I would run one. But the fact is, none of us can do that alone in a public-owned good like a school system. So we have to come together, figure out individually what is our why. Why do we come to work? Why do we try so hard? Why do we care? And then where are we not getting it right? And we have to have the courage to have the conversations about changing our practices so we can change outcomes for kids. That's complex work. It makes people edgy and uncomfortable, and yet not doing it, I think, is unethical. So my intent is to try and improve the system by at least 10% a year. Less is unprofessional. A faster rate than that in a system our size is probably unfair. And so our work will continue. I'm determined to change outcomes because our mission says all kids, not some kids, not middle income and richer kids, not white kids. It says all kids. And so that involves us changing practices and learning how to do so.